In this week's Saving Women's Spaces, we're monitoring the fallout to the Biden administration's planned changes to Title IX. The Department of Education saying that, quote, the final rule protects all students and employees from all sex discrimination prohibited under Title IX, including against discrimination based on sex stereotypes, sexual orientation, gender identity, and sex characteristics. But do these changes really help to create inclusion? Or does it actually hurt women and girls in sports? Joining us now to weigh in, celebrity fitness trainer Jillian Michaels. Jillian, welcome, and thanks for coming on today. So President Biden and his administration plans to really change the entire landscape of women's sports by essentially allowing gender identity to cover anyone who calls themselves a woman the chance to play in women's sports. As an athlete yourself, does that sound fair?
It sounds absurd. Listen, I want to be totally clear. I'm empathetic to the situation. I completely understand why we want to provide inclusion, but we also need to provide a level playing field, and you have to determine what's the overriding principle here, right? And the science just does not lend itself to this case. If you look at every single aspect from a genetic predisposition to strength, there are over 6,500 genes in biological men and biological women that express themselves differently. 3,000 of those differences impact the musculoskeletal system. It's just, I could go on and on and on. The data's not there, and it's simply not fair. You're not transphobic. You're not a bigot if you're pointing out the unbelievable differences and the insane advantage that biological males have, even on puberty blockers.
Sure. You don't have to be an expert to see these clear differences. And I think, too, you know what goes into actually preparing for a match or a game. You've got to go through the locker room. There's a lot of training involved right now. There are other instances where women perhaps might not feel comfortable when you're in a very vulnerable state and you're sharing it with a biological male.
You know, listen, my feeling on this one is that it's not even a necessary fight. I've yet to hear about a transgender woman attacking biological women. I would say, I completely understand, I get it, but this is not one where it's like painting trans people as predators. I don't think it's a fight you win. I don't think it's a necessary fight. I don't think it makes sense. I get that, and I understand biological women are feeling uncomfortable, but I just think from a competitive perspective, on the scientific basis alone, the conversation ends there. And when you go down that rabbit hole, you definitely run the risk of being called transphobic or bigoted. And it's just not worth the argument when you don't even need to make it. The data is overwhelming on the advantages that biological men and transgender women on puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones still have over biological women. It is overwhelming. I could get into unbelievable statistics that you don't even need to make that case.
Right. Right. You know, you do think about minor girls, though, want to make sure that everyone is in a safe environment. I wanted to talk to you, though, about soccer star Megan Rapinoe, who, by the way, has competed against women, and she was quite successful in her own journey. But now she, alongside Sue Bird and some other female athletes, are actually calling on the NCAA to stand up for transgender inclusion. Talk to us about what this means for current college athletes. Is that a fair, persuasion that they're under at this point when they've already completed their careers?
Exactly. You said it all. It's very convenient for you to say that at this point in time when you've had the opportunity to be number one. And by the way, I don't even need to refer to the studies. I'm doing it in order to avoid people being able to shut the conversation down with the transphobic comments, right? So the reason I'm evidencing the data is so you can't make that case. But this is bearing itself out in real time. And what I mean by that is you're seeing biological males who were at an average ranking when they competed against men have meteoric rises in the rankings with new news every single week about another record that was just broken by a transgender athlete, another championship that was just won by a transgender athlete. This is a world with no Serena Williams, with no Lindsey Vonn, with no Megan Rapinoe, because in order to be the GOAT, you have to win. You've got to be number one over and over and over.
Sure.
And something else that's deeply concerning for me is what we saw happen to a power lifter in Canada named April Hutchinson. So the Canadian Powerlifting Union held a competition. They changed the rules. They have a gender identity inclusion policy, and of course, a transgender athlete. And I say of course because, again, the data is there that transgender women are going to be significantly stronger.
We've got some of those statistics. If our control room wants to pull
I can run them down for you.
I know.
Yeah, if you'd like. It is.
No, we've got them. We've got them. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and I'll send you all the studies. There are 19 of them alone that compare the strength and the physical capacity. I mean, there you go. Like, it's just.
We're showing
you're looking at. Okay, but this is versus men. If you were to take the studies that look at biological men on puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, okay, after 3 years of testosterone suppression, the changes in their muscle mass, 4% when they looked at the muscle in the thigh. And they still maintained 13% more muscle mass than a transgender male, meaning a woman on testosterone. Their grip strength after 3 years of testosterone suppression was still 17% greater than a biological female on testosterone. So this isn't just, because that's the argument, right? The case becomes, oh, no. You see, when you're on puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, it's going to level the playing field. But the data says no. And there's one study, I didn't even get into the April Hutchinson thing, but the long and the short of it is a transgender athlete, of course, broke the record for total weight lifted, and she was upset, understandably, and she spoke out about it, used the term biological male, and they banned her from the sport.
Yes.
I mean, that's now we're not allowing freedom of speech. You're not even allowed to express concerns, or you're going to be penalized. It's outrageous and it's unacceptable that she can't even voice her concern without being punished. A concern that, by the way, is scientifically valid.
Sure.
So, I'm sorry. I'm
no, it's
starting
okay.
to get
Actually,
really
it's funny
by this. It's insane.
It's funny you mentioned April. Our audience is familiar with her story. She's come on to our Saving Women segment before, because it's just so wild to see a biological woman who's been working her whole life to compete, to lose to a biological man who, despite being on so-called puberty blockers, clearly still has an unfair advantage when it comes to power lifting. I mean, it's just so obvious. And yet some people are hesitant to speak out. You're not. That's why you're doing so, and we're glad you are. Jillian Michaels, thanks for coming on today. We appreciate it.
Guys. I appreciate you having me.
We'll have you back.
I got a little heated. I'm sorry. I wasn't very composed. I was just, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right, take care.